Hi, Doug Wingate here, licensed acupuncturist in the state of Oregon. I'm going to do a series of videos discussing the 8 circuit model of consciousness and how that can be utilized and integrated into the use of Chinese medicine and acupuncture, along with several other possible therapeutic modalities. For those who are completely unfamiliar with the 8 circuit model of consciousness, it's something that was originally put out by Timothy Leary during his psychological studies, and he developed this supposedly out of a conversation where he was exposed to an esoteric chakra system, where that was explained to him, and then he took that and took that information and developed it into basically a description of evolutionary processes for the species as a whole. So human evolution and the stages that it goes through, and with this there was some psychological development. But later on, Robert Anton Wilson took this information, further developed it into a social model of individual consciousness development. And so it's 8 stages of potential development within an individual, and he brought that into a social realm. Not long after that, Ansaro Ali came through and wrote a book about bringing that into the personal realm and methods that an individual can utilize in order to work with each of the circuits and how to develop the self and kind of make the most out of it. So that's where a lot of this information is being based off of as far as the groundwork on the 8 circuit model of consciousness. I've had the opportunity to study directly with Robert Anton Wilson and Antero Ali on some of this material, and I've been working with it for about 10 years now. And I mean, within my clinical experience, kept seeing instances where somebody will come in and have an emotional hang up or a trauma that happened sometimes early in life or at a different stage in their life, and they'll create these hang ups because within each stage or each circuit that an individual goes through, and these are developmental stages that happen at different ages, the person takes in an imprint, and that's basically either a positive or a negative reinforcement or image or belief system that a person establishes regarding a lot of the mental psychological development that's going on in that stage. And so while there's information out there from Wilson and Ali on ways that an individual can work on themselves, I've worked to find clinical applications for working on other individuals who may have hang-ups or negative imprints in the circuits, and been able to integrate this in with the organ, the Zongvu system, the meridian system. I've delved into the going back to the idea that Leary was exposed to an esoteric chakra system, or description of chakras. Excuse me. I've delved into that and found that there are many correlations between the 8 circuits and the chakras, as well as the neuroendocrine organs that are correlated with those chakras, and physiological locations of those, and how they pertain to connective tissue compartments within the human body. So in future videos, we're going to go into discussion on all of that. Basically, the 8 circuits that will be covered are firstly the biosurvival circuit. This is the first one that's imprinted. It's imprinted early in infancy, and it's essentially the way that a person sees the exterior world as either being safe, an environment that you can go out and safely explore, or whether it be an environment that causes fear and is seen as a threat. And so a lot of this is imprinted based on early in life, their experiences with their mother or their primary nurturing figure. Following that, the child around the age of 1.5 to 3.5 years old moves into what's called the emotional territorial circuit. This is where they develop a personal ego. They start to recognize boundaries and power plays, and so there's a lot of imprinting of one's role as either a dominant figure or a submissive role, as well as coming to recognize and utilize the emotions and how to utilize that for the self, as well as to get things from others and manipulate things from others. So this is kind of the terrible twos time. A few years after that, around the age of 6 to 8, around the age of 7, the next circuit is the neurosemantic circuit. And this is where kind of the cognitive, rational, logical functions of the brain really kick on, and so the child begins to be able to read, write, do math, and be able to utilize symbols. So symbols are a key factor here. The ability to utilize that to compartmentalize, create their own maps, and convey information in reading and writing and things like that. So this is a lot of how they imprint the logical processes of things and how heavily they rely on that in their life. Following that, around the time of adolescence, is the social sexual circuit, and so this is about the time where socialization with their peers becomes much more prominent. The individual begins to kind of move away from the parental figure into their social circles, and of course, around the time of adolescence, sexuality becomes a component of that, and so the impact of one's first sexual encounters can have a strong impact on the rest of someone's life down the line. So whether or not they take a negative or positive imprint on that can play out throughout life. And that's kind of the first 4 circuits. That's developmental stages that pretty much every individual goes through within our society. It's societally acceptable. Once you kind of hit the parenthood phase, a lot of personal development, and especially consciousness development or spiritual development or higher cognitive processes kind of go to the wayside as individuals focus on parenthood and things like that. And sometimes later in life, once the children have grown up again and a person is able to kind of focus on themselves a little bit more and their personal drives and their personal development, you may start working on what are considered the higher circuits. So the first 4 are kind of labeled the earthly circuits. The latter 4 labeled the heavenly circuits. The first of those is the neurosomatic circuit. And what happens here is a big shift where a lot of information that's coming in is very subjective, and it's about utilizing a lot of the information that was taken in the first 4 circuits and really taking control of those things in the latter 4. So the 5th circuit, the neurosomatic circuit, is when an individual becomes much more aware of their body, their bodily functions, and being able to utilize and manipulate that basically so that they can develop the most out of it. So this circuit is a lot about rapturous pleasure, just really feeling one's body, utilizing the body for elements of personal development. Following that, should the individual continue working and developing, what opens up is what's called the metaprogramming or the neuroelectric circuit, and this is the individual's awareness of their thinking patterns, the way that they work through processes, a lot of the way that they think. And the more awareness that you have of the way that you think and the way that you process things, the more ability that you have to alter that. And so this is a stage where individuals learn to utilize that. The belief systems that they've held through most of their lives can sometimes break down at the realization that there's societal structures, and so that can be a little bit unnerving as it happens, but it's this stage where people begin to really analyze and break down their thought patterns and belief systems. If they continue on the path of self-development, what occurs is the neurogenetic circuit. That's the seventh circuit. And the neurogenetic circuit is the unveiling of a lot of the cross-cultural components of life. And so you can definitely associate this to Carl Jung's collective unconscious, as well as the kind of an awareness that beyond the personal self becomes less important than the larger communal or larger species, either survival or development. And so they talk about the ability to work with one's genetic components, and that's certainly gained some ground in recent years with epigenetics and looking and analyzing that and the impact that anything from diet to trauma, a lot of different things can impact one's genetic the genetic expression, excuse me, I lost the word there for a second. So the expression of the genes can be altered depending on one's life experience. And then following that, the eighth circuit is what's called the quantum non-local circuit. It's essentially, it could be called unity consciousness. It's where an individual no longer becomes an individual. The boundaries of self are really broken down. So in spiritual schools or spiritual teachings, there's a lot of different names for this. The Tao in Taoism, Ein Safar in Kabbalistic thought, the highest states of consciousness development where the individual ceases to be and rather you are kind of one with everything. You recognize everything as this flowing, undulating field of interaction rather than material objects bound by space and time. And so that's kind of where that's what the 8 circuits are. Like I said, in future videos I'm going to go through and discuss imprints that can happen with those and clinical methods that you can use with patients who may have hang-ups or negative imprints on those. So I will be posting another video soon.